So here's your September Denver market update. Essentially, I skipped August because I told you in July we were done. Like it topped out for the year. And sure enough, that's what happened. Because in July, we were looking at June stats. June is almost always the top of the year when it comes to closed prices. And sure enough, look at that. June 2023 closed prices were $595, and I'm looking at median closed price. Let me give my data set caveats here. I'm looking at closed price. I like to show you everything that I see so you can see what I see. The South Metro Denver Realtor Association Metro Statistical Data Area, because that is a 7-county Denver metro, not an 11-county. I don't like to include Boulder and Weld and some other things that aren't really reflective of the Denver market. And so we're down a little bit to 580. We were at 595 in June because we always top out in June because June closings are May shoppers, as I mentioned back in June and July. So we topped out. We're tanking down just a little bit, not tanking, but heading downwards just a little bit. But guys, this is so normal, like so normal, seasonal. We don't have a crystal ball, but this is just about the closest thing to one because look at this. As I say in every single market update video, we usually top out in June. In 2022, we topped out in April because the rates shot through the roof relative. They went from 3 to 5. Oh my God. But it was a big shock in a short period of time in like a week or two in March. So things topped out with March shoppers and May and April closings hung out for a little bit and then started to go down. 2021 and 2022 and 2020 were all just kind of nuts because of everything we already know about. But generally, yeah, we kind of top out in May, June, July. So, yep. See, like I said, no crystal ball, but patterns. Patterns are really indicative of things that will probably happen again. And this goes all the way back to 2009. So you can see, and then obviously 2020, we had some crazy stuff happen. 2021, 2022 was rapid market appreciation. Rates went up in March of 2022. Things settled off really quickly. And the big things I really want y'all to take away, I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit, are that we have recovered most of our prices, not quite back to the height of the market, so not quite back to spring of 2022, but pretty close. Are those going to taper off just a little bit and go down towards the end of the year? Yes, because we always have a slow second half of the year here in Denver. That is our seasonal market. People don't typically shop in July, August, September. We get a few people that shop in September, October for October and November closings, but not a ton. And then people sit put, or sit tight for the winter and for holidays and family and all this kind of stuff. Not a lot of people want to list their property in November, December. At that point, it doesn't really hurt just to wait until January. And then things start to take off in January, as they usually do. So I don't see any reason that won't happen again. I don't think our rates will significantly go up significantly. I think, my understanding and from all the smarter people than myself that I listen to, that they're probably going to hover around that 6 to 7% mark, maybe up to 8. If they go down to the low 6s and high 5s, I think we'll have a whole bunch of buyers enter the market in the spring, and it's going to be nutso because they haven't been in the 5s since early 2022, and that's when they went from 3 to 5, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to wait till the rates go back to normal. Don't get me started on normal. But guys, it's going to be slow for the fall. So does that mean things are dead? No. Houses still sell in the second half of the year. Buyers still buy in the second half of the year. And here's why. I love helping buyers that are not able to compete in the second half of the year. So I tend to do a lot of business this time of the year because when you are a buyer that has a 3% down, 3% down FHA or CHFA down payment assistance or a 0% down VA loan, or you don't have a ton of cash available, or you can't cover, a gap over the appraisal. When you can't financially compete against others who have more financial means than you need to wait for a less competitive market. Not only of the advantage of that is not only are you having to compete financially and losing, essentially, because that's no fun. Nobody likes to lose. And worried about where you're going to live and how much things are going to cost and everything else. A lot of times this time of year, you have some leverage because our days on market is going to go up. Okay? It's already starting. So June, July, August, September will keep going up too. So will October, so will November, so will December. And like I said, last 2 or 3 years is kind of a crapshoot, but let's go back a little bit further. for some more patterns. Here's your spikes, guys. And they usually December, January, because people start looking again in January. So it's those listings that have been sitting on through November and December. So, but you can see December, January is where things top out. And it's those November and December listings. So if you are a buyer that cannot be competitive and you are not unbelievably picky on exactly the product you are looking for, because you're not going to have as much inventory to pick from. Let's go look at active listings. So your active listings are going to kind of max out in the summertime because that's when most people are listing their property. Now you're going to get a little bit increase in the active listings just because things are going to sit around and be available longer. They're going to sit on the shelf longer. They will still sell, but there's not going to be as many things getting put onto the shelf. We're not going to be getting restocked as often, right? Just because sellers don't want to list as much this time of year. But there's still pending listings. Houses will still sell. The inventory was the other thing I wanted to look at. Months of supply. Months of supply is going to go up. Usually goes up this time of year just for a little bit until less sellers start to list their home. And I'm looking back at like 2017, 2018, 2019. I think that's a little bit more indicative of this type of market cycle that we're in. And versus looking at the last 2 or 3 years because everything was so crazy and non-reflective of a normal market. But you can see that our inventory options will kind of max out this time of year. So September, July, August, September, October, that's when you're going to have the most choices at any one time with most likely the least amount of competition. Your competition will continue to go down, but so will your choices. So buyers, if you can't compete in the spring market or don't want to, or you want to pick up a deal, investors, this is another great market for y'all. When I buy property, as long as I'm not being too picky, if I'm buying it as an investment, I'm always buying second half of the year. Always. It just makes sense. So a lot of my investor clients, if you've got funds sitting around from, if you've got timelines on your 1031 exchanges, if you've got some money that you need to invest for tax purposes or whatever, second half of the year is a great time to go shop because you also have some more leverage for your investors that are looking to flip properties. It's another good opportunity. October, November, December, it gives you 1 or 2 months to do the improvements to your properties and then list for resale in January, February, March, right? Because then you're going to hit the top of the market when it comes to buyer demand and buyer competition. So just because it's slow for, I would say, most owner occupants or consumers that are looking to go purchase a home to live in. Now's the time of year for the people that don't think about buying a house this time of year. They're like, well, I don't know. My lease is up in like February. Maybe I'll start looking in, I don't know. Or my lease is up in March. Maybe I'll start looking in January. Guys, you're going to put yourself back in the grind with everybody else. And so my buyers that actually listen, they shop a little bit early. And a lot of times, if you have the leverage with a seller, ask for a few $1,000s concession, which covers your lease break costs. There's advantages to shopping in a fall market for sure. So it's nice to shop for things when other people aren't looking as much. So that's really my message, and it's probably going to be my message through September, October, November, and very likely December, because it's almost like I've done this before. So for sellers, let me go ahead and hit the percent of close price to list price. And I do average on this one just because the median doesn't quite show enough variation to really understand. Sorry, my mouse is hitting all the wrong points here. So let's go bring this into about 5 years. Sellers, pricing, positioning, promotion, and presentation. It's going to matter so much. So I have a seller that we listed, when did we list? July? Yeah, last week of July, I believe. And she's absolutely awesome. She did everything I told her to do, which was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And we had 4 showings and got 3 offers in 2 days. I mean, you can't beat that. So now we priced aggressively. She did everything on the unit to position it as well as possible with a high ROI that made sense. So, we weren't spending $10,000 to make 5 just to sell it. But, I think she spent about 4 and we made about 12 to 15 more than we expected. That's a pretty good ROI. So presenting your property well, professional photos and presentation, as I always do on all my listings. If you're looking to, or if you're thinking about listing here in the Denver Metro, especially if you're on a tight timeline and you have to list here in Q3 and Q4, please reach out to me you can book an appointment right off my website. You can just pick a time off my calendar and we'll set up a meet. So you can pick it right now and don't have to worry about the phone tag and stuff. But it's really about sitting down, making a game plan, making a timeline. I'm meeting with another seller tomorrow because we're going to be listing at the end of September. So we really want to understand, and they are very savvy sellers as well. They understand the market condition. So we want to price it appropriately and aggressively compared to the other properties on the market. We're going to position it and stage it very, very well. We're going to market it and promote it very well. And those are the things that are going to make the difference of your house selling in 1, 2, 3 weeks versus sitting on the market for 6 months and waiting until a buyer comes along in January. So anyway, there's kind of my preach for right now. Showings to pending. So if you are planning to list your property for sale, this gives you an idea of how many people you need to get into the door to get an offer. And you can see our showings to pending number is kind of a weird number. And of course, the last couple of years is a little weird. So let's back it up a little bit. And granted, this is not, caveat here on the data set, this is not every showing for all of the Denver metro market. We have 2 showing services in our marketplace. I would say one of them has about 60 to 70% market share, and this is the data set from that showing service. So it's a representative sample of the showings that are in the Denver metro market, a very large sample. But this shows that, hey, we're going to get most people looking at a house in January, February. In March and April, they get serious and there's not as many opportunities to go look at it because you get in the door, you make an offer, and you move on. Same for, those March and April shoppers. They will close in May. And you see then our showings are going to start to go down a little bit. We're not going to have as much activity. But it's going to take more showings the second half of the year to get an offer. Because people are going to say, well, I'm just going to wait and see if they do a price drop. And let me go look at 5 other things in the meantime because I can. Because there's inventory on the shelf. Because things are not flying right away and I don't have to decide overnight. So people will want to see more properties in the second half of the year. So it takes more showings for your house to sell if it is not presented as good as possible. Presented well, priced well, positioned well, and promoted well. So anyway, there's my caveat. I'm going to do a relatively quick update compared to normal, I guess, on this one because it's the same stuff. I don't really think there's a whole lot of new stuff here. So if it was new, or even if there was something helpful that you're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Now I know. Go ahead and hit the like button down below. A lot of people I am having reach out to me and say, well, I don't know if I should wait till the market improves. Okay, what do you mean? Do you mean that the prices go up, that more people want to buy and more people think it's a good idea, so now you have more people to compete with? Or until your buying power improves? Okay, we got second half of the year, you have some leverage. Let's go have the seller pay for a buy down for you and lower your payment for the first 3 years and maybe bank on a refinance in the first 3 years and save you some money. Not going to be able to ask for those things in March, April, May. When everybody thinks the market's going to be better, it just means it's more aggressive. So just some options for some buyers, some options for sellers. As always, you can book an appointment down on my link down below. Or if you have any other questions, let me know. Hit the like button if this was helpful. Thanks so much and have a great day.